Okay, welcome back to session 6 of Unit 3. So, in this session, we are basically going to consider consumer attitude. So, at the end of this session, we should be able to explain the concept of consumer attitude, identify the various elements of attitude functions, describe the three competing attitude models, distinguish. So, there's supposed to be C here. So, let's take note. There's supposed to be a C here. So, there should be a C. Then distinguish between how consumers or how attitude are formed by means classical conditioning and operant conditioning. Discuss the importance of consistency principle and cognitive dissonance theory. Okay. So what is attitude? All of you have an attitude. All of you are consumers, so that is attitude. You are good to go, right? You have attitude. All of you are consumers, and therefore that is attitude. Okay, but attitude are important because they reflect what consumers think and feel. So we are saying that every individual has or have a different attitude pertaining to how they approach issues in terms of purchase or patronage. And then the kind of attitude they have reflects the level of their purchase decision or their purchase behavior. Now, functions of attitude. Attitude has a lot of function, and therefore we need to take note. The functional theory of attitude explains the role of attitude in guiding and shaping social behavior. Again, it explains the role that attitude plays in helping us deal with everyday life. So attitude function as a central or at the center of our behavior. So it hovers around the way we do our things, the way we talk, and the way we eat, and the way we make our decision. So your attitude sometimes reflects, even as a student, the kind of attitude that you have reflects how you're actually putting the effort to study. There are certain people we are saying that their attitude are good, their attitude are bad, and because of the kind of attitude they have, it also doesn't give them the opportunity or the time for them to study a lot. Again, four major functions of attitude that we can actually talk about are the utilitarian function. So attitude, in terms of function, we can have the utilitarian, we have the value expressive function, we have the ego defensive function, and we have the knowledge function. Okay. Now, the attitude models perceive a description of how consumers' information processing include cognition and emotion, influence consumers' choice process. And here we are saying that three competing attitude models that we can discuss or actually talked about is the standard learning hierarchy. So there is a standard upon which an individual would want to build a particular attitude. The low involvement hierarchy, and we have the experiential hierarchy where the person would want to practice, would want to have a practical experience of whatever attitude he or she would form. Now, how do we form attitude? Attitude formation. Attitude, one way or the other, is learned and formed. When you were in JHS, the attitude you have was quite different from the attitude you have as at now, because there are a lot of things that you have come across. There are a lot of studies that you have actually encountered. There are a lot of perception that you have formed for yourself, and that would shape your attitude as a consumer. Attitude are formed through one of these three related processes. So either your attitude is formed as a result of compliance, identification, or internalization. So compliance here means that attitude is formed based on something that you are supposed to succumb to. Or in other words, one of my professor will say that there's something you are supposed to kowtow or be submissive to. So people form attitude based on compliance. So attitude are formed based on what? Compliance. So that is what you have the compliance here. Then we have identification. You also form attitude based on what? Identification. We want to actually attribute something to this. I want to be like despite. That is something I have identified for myself, and therefore I would want to build an attitude to be able to suit that thing that I want to have. And we have internalization. Internalization basically talks about something that is in you. There are certain attitude, whether you learn or whatever is in you is what will come out. So internally, you build attitude for yourself. Now, the importance of the consistency principle and the cognitive dissonance theory. Now, consumers strive to attain consistency between their attitude. So, according to the principle of cognitive consistency, consumers strive to maintain harmony among their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and they are motivated to maintain uniformity among these elements. That is, people will adjust their beliefs, feelings, and or attitude in order to maintain consistency with their other experiences. Sorry. Now, cognitive dissonance. I don't know whether you have come across what you call the cognitive dissonance. When you say cognitive dissonance, it basically talks about the discomfort that the consumer go through after he or she has patronized a particular product. So now this theory is saying that an internal state of cognitive dissonance results when there is what? A discrepancy between behavior and attitude. So cognitive dissonance theory is saying that there are times where consumers buy a particular product, and then after buying that product, they tend to fight with their behavior and then that of their attitude. So it's either why did I buy this? Then that kind of fight, internal fight, or the internal confusion, that is what we refer to as cognitive dissonance. So, and according to the theory of cognitive dissonance, consumers will actively seek to resolve or reduce this discrepancy, perhaps by changing an attitude or modifying a particular behavior. So, if the person wants to actually reduce the rate at which they experience this cognitive dissonance that we are talking about, one person may decide to modify. So one may decide to modify the behavior. One will also may want to modify his or her attitude. So in the course of our lecture, I'll be able to know or we'll learn ways of reducing cognitive dissonance. Now, self-perception theory. Self-perception theory. Now, self-perception theory provides another way of explaining dissonance effects. And this theory describes how people observe their own behavior and use this observation to shape their own. So there are some people, they actually perceive themselves, and as a result of perceiving themselves, they try to actually shape their own attitude. So I did this. What was the perception? What was I thinking? Probably something made you do that particular thing, and because of that thing, you want to perceive yourself in order to actually shape or change your own attitude. So there are a lot of situations or instances that consumers make decisions, and it's not because of that is their attitude. Based on certain perception, their self-perception, they tend to make certain decisions, and that will result in a bad choice of a particular product. Now, changing the cognitive components. A common and effective approach to changing attitude is to focus on the cognitive components. So if you want to change your cognitive attitude or you change your attitude, one of the focal points you need to actually take note is your cognitive component, because it is something that has to do with the mind. So if you don't focus on how to change the way you think, and all that, it will actually affect your attitude. So if you want to change your attitude, one of the things you need to hit has to do your cognitive component. And 4 basic marketing strategy that you can actually use to alter your cognitive structure. One, if you want to change your attitude, one of the things that you can do is that change your belief. So there are certain attitude of certain people is as a result of the kind of beliefs that they have or the belief system that they succumb to. And that is why there are certain people, when they move to the university, their beliefs changes, because here they come to be enlightened. They come to see, you say that somebody will say that university is just a stepping stone to personal life. So this is where you come and learn all kinds, or you come and see all kinds of attitude, all kinds of behavior or beliefs. And sometimes you may want to alter because you have realized that they have come to see something better than what you know. So if you want to change your attitude, one of the things you can change is your belief. Again, you can also shift your importance, things that you prioritize most, things that you see them to be relevant. If you think you want to change your attitude, there are certain things you need to actually desist from those things. So if a consumer wants to change the way he or she make a decision, he has to actually shift that, oh, this thing, I would want to categorize this as irrelevant and all that. Again, you can also add beliefs. In as much as you can change beliefs, probably you can add on Yes, add on. You can also change idea. You can change idea. Change the affective components. So ways you can change the affective components. You have talked about classical conditioning. You can also affect towards the aid itself and mere exposure. So mere exposure can also help to change the affective component. Changing the behavioral components. So as we have discussed earlier on, behavior may precede the development of cognitive and effort, or it may occur in the contrast of the cognitive and then the affective component. For example, a consumer may dislike the taste of diet soft drinks and believe that artificial sweeteners are unhealthy. You see the point. So you see that you see the dynamics of consumers. The way certain consumers perceive certain things are sometimes interesting and surprising. Something you may think that this one there is not good for their health. That is what they're going for. And sometimes that's why we think we sometimes um, find it difficult to understand consumers. And as we said earlier on, that consumers' mind is a black box. Consumers are black box. There are people that you cannot actually predict. And people, they are the same people that will complain that we want healthy food, we want something that, and when they buy the thing that they think this is purely healthy, they will complain that it's not nice, it is not tasty, it is not this. When you add something that is sweet to it, they will tell you that this is not healthy. Meanwhile, they are the same people that were complaining. So that is the dynamism or the dynamics of what consumer behavior. So basically, this is what the various.